Have you ever looked back at something and quietly thought, that could have ended very differently? I remember talking to someone who once shared how they missed a flight by just a few minutes. At the time, it felt frustrating, inconvenient, almost unfair. But later they found out that flight had severe issues that day. What felt like delay was actually protection. Deliverance doesn't always announce itself. Sometimes it looks like a closed door. Sometimes it looks like a redirection. Sometimes it looks like a relationship ending when you begged for it to stay, and only later do you realize God was shielding you. Psalm 34:19 says, "Many are the afflictions of the righteous, but the Lord delivereth him out of them all." Notice it doesn't say we won't face trouble. It says we will not stay trapped in it. Deliverance is not the absence of battle. It is the presence of rescue. There are dangers we saw, and there are dangers we never knew were near. That argument that didn't escalate, that opportunity you didn't get but would have drained you, that season that ended before it destroyed your peace. Sometimes God delivers you from situations. Sometimes He delivers you from people. Sometimes He delivers you from becoming someone you were never meant to be. And here's what makes gratitude powerful. It shifts your focus from what almost broke you to who preserved you. Think about it. You've survived things you once thought would crush you, nights you cried through, decisions you regretted, pressure that felt unbearable. And yet here you are. That is not luck. That is mercy in motion. Psalm 124 says, "If it had not been the Lord who was on our side." That verse invites reflection. If God had not stepped in, where would you be? What would have happened? How different would the story look? Deliverance is not always dramatic. Sometimes it is quiet strength, clarity at the right time, a sudden conviction that keeps you from making the wrong move. And this morning, before you rush ahead, pause and recognize it. You are not just waking up, you are waking up delivered. Not perfect, not problem-free, but preserved. When you begin the day remembering what God has brought you through, fear loses its grip. Gratitude steadies your spirit. Confidence grows quietly, because the same God who delivered you before has not changed. And if He carried you through that, He will carry you through this. Please, let's bow in prayer. There was a moment I thought I wouldn't come through it. Not dramatically, not publicly, just quietly, in the privacy of my own thoughts. I remember sitting in that space, uncertain, overwhelmed, unsure of what the next week would hold. I did not know how it would resolve. I did not know how the pressure would lift. I only knew that I felt small in front of it, and yet, here I am. That realization alone stops me this morning. Father, before I ask you for anything, before I think about what still needs to change, before I rehearse new concerns, I want to thank you for deliverance, for the things I once cried about that no longer control me, for the battles that once kept me awake but now feel distant, for the doors that closed that I thought would ruin me, but instead protected me. I did not always see it clearly while I was inside it. Sometimes deliverance feels slow while you are waiting. It feels like silence when you want sound. It feels like endurance when you want escape. But looking back, I see your hand. The problem that felt permanent shifted. The fear that felt overwhelming softened. The situation that looked final changed. Lord, you delivered me. Your word says, I sought the Lord, and He heard me, and delivered me from all my fears. When I read that verse now, it feels personal, because some of my greatest battles were not visible to anyone else. They were internal: fear of loss, fear of failure, fear of being stuck, and yet somehow over time, those fears loosened their grip. Was it dramatic? No. Was it instant? Not always, but it was real. Father, thank you for the deliverance that did not come with fireworks, but came with quiet stability. Thank you for the moments when I thought I would break and didn't. Thank you for the strength that appeared exactly when I reached my limit. Thank you for the people you placed in my life at the right time. Thank you for the opportunities that arrived unexpectedly. Thank you for the doors that shut even when I begged for them to stay open. At the time, I called it disappointment. Now, I call it protection. There were prayers I prayed in desperation. Some were whispered, some were tearful, some were barely coherent. I remember asking you to move, to intervene, to change something that felt unbearable. And even when I did not see immediate change, you were already working. Your word says that many are the afflictions of the righteous, but the Lord delivers him out of them all. I did not understand that verse fully until I lived it. Deliverance does not mean absence of trouble. It means presence in trouble. And you were present. When I was confused, you were steady. When I was overwhelmed, you were patient. When I doubted, you did not withdraw. Looking back, I see small mercies that I almost overlooked. The conversation that shifted everything, the unexpected provision, the delay that saved me from rushing into something wrong, the internal shift that changed my perspective. Deliverance is not always dramatic rescue. Sometimes it is gradual clarity. Lord, I want to thank you not only for what you removed, but for what you restored. You restored peace where anxiety once lived. You restored confidence where insecurity once echoed. You restored hope where disappointment tried to settle. I remember nights when I lay awake wondering how things would turn out. I replayed conversations. I calculated outcomes. I imagined worst-case scenarios. And yet, none of those imagined disasters unfolded the way I feared. You were guarding me in ways I could not see. The psalmist wrote that the Lord is my rock and my fortress and my deliverer. A fortress is not fragile. It stands. And there were moments when I felt fragile, but you were not. Even when I felt shaken, you were steady. Even when I felt uncertain, you were sure. Father, thank you for deliverance from what could have been worse. There were outcomes that could have damaged me deeply. There were paths that could have led me far from peace. There were decisions that could have entangled me, and somehow you redirected me. Sometimes through closed doors, sometimes through discomfort, sometimes through delay, but always through care. I did not always recognize it as deliverance in the moment. Sometimes I called it frustration. Sometimes I called it confusion. Sometimes I called it loss. But now, with hindsight, I call it mercy. Thank you for delivering me from my own limited understanding. Thank you for protecting me from choices made in fear. Thank you for guarding my future when I could only see the present. Lord, deliverance is not just external, it is internal too. You delivered me from resentment I thought would linger. You delivered me from bitterness that tried to take root. You delivered me from replaying past mistakes over and over. You softened my heart when it could have hardened. You steadied my thoughts when they could have spiraled. And now I sit here with gratitude. Not loud, not performative gratitude, but deep, quiet gratitude, because I know where I could have ended up. I know how broken I could have been. I know how discouraged I might still feel. But I am not there. Your word says that you turn mourning into dancing. I may not be dancing outwardly, but something inside me has shifted from despair to stability. That is deliverance. Father, this morning I want to pause long enough to truly see it, not rush past it, not forget it, not move immediately into new requests. Just thank you. Thank you for the way you carried me through. Thank you for the way you intervened without spectacle. Thank you for the way you strengthened me without shaming me. Thank you for the way you corrected my path without humiliating me. And as I sit here remembering what you have already done, my heart begins to move from gratitude for past deliverance to deeper reflection on the deliverance I did not even realize I needed at the time. Father, the more I sit with you this morning, the more I realize that some of the greatest deliverances in my life were the ones I did not celebrate when they happened, because I did not know what you were preventing. I only saw what I thought I was losing. There were opportunities that slipped away that I mourned. I questioned myself. I questioned timing. I even questioned whether I had done something wrong. I did not realize then that what felt like rejection was actually redirection. I did not realize that you were sparing me from weight I was not meant to carry. How many times did I pray for something, and when it did not unfold the way I imagined, I assumed it was disappointment. And yet months later, or even years later, I could look back and see that if it had gone my way, it might have fractured something essential in me. Lord, thank you for the deliverances I misinterpreted. Thank you for the no that protected me. Thank you for the delay that refined me. Thank you for the silence that kept me from rushing into the wrong thing. Your word says that you will withhold no good thing from those who walk uprightly. At the time, I thought, whoa, good meant immediate success or visible progress. But maybe good sometimes looks like being spared from premature exposure. Maybe good looks like being held back from a path that would have drained me. There were relationships I once fought to keep. I invested emotion. I tried to repair what felt strained, and when they dissolved anyway, I carried confusion. But now I see how you preserved my peace in ways I could not see then. I see how you protected my heart from dynamics that would have slowly eroded my confidence. That was deliverance. It did not feel like victory. It felt like loss, but it was deliverance. There were environments I once longed to enter. I believed that if I could just step into those spaces, everything would change. And when the door did not open, I wondered why. Now I see how certain environments would have pressured me into becoming someone I was not meant to be. That was deliverance. There were conversations that never happened, explanations I never got to give, chances to defend myself that never came. I thought silence meant neglect, but perhaps silence was protection. Perhaps you knew that clarity would not have changed hearts. Perhaps you knew that my peace was more valuable than my explanation. That too was deliverance. Lord, how often do I measure deliverance only by visible rescue? A crisis avoided, a problem solved, a dramatic intervention. But there are quieter forms of deliverance, being preserved from unnecessary entanglement, being redirected from harmful ambition, being shielded from exposure before maturity. You delivered me from my own impatience more times than I realized. You delivered me from needing validation in spaces that were not aligned with me. You delivered me from striving beyond what was healthy. I remember times when I thought I was strong enough to handle something that now, looking back, I see would have overwhelmed me. I thought I was ready. I thought I was capable. I thought I could manage the weight. And you, in your quiet wisdom, did not allow it. At the time, I questioned your timing. Now I thank you for it. Your word says that the steps of a righteous person are ordered by the Lord. That ordering includes not only what I step into, but what I step around. It includes what I never saw, what I never heard, what I never experienced. How many unseen dangers did you redirect me from? How many unseen consequences did you absorb? How many unseen disappointments did you soften before they could wound deeply? Father, I want to develop a deeper kind of gratitude. Gratitude not only for the obvious victories, but for the hidden mercies. I want to thank you for the times when I thought you were slow, but you were careful. For the times when I thought you were silent, but you were protecting. For the times when I thought you were withholding, but you were preserving. There is humility in recognizing that I do not always know what is best for me. There is humility in admitting that my perspective is limited. There is humility in trusting that your view is broader than mine. You delivered me from circumstances, yes, but you also delivered me from illusions. Illusions about what would satisfy me. Illusions about what would complete me. illusions about what I needed in order to feel secure, and in their place, you cultivated something steadier, dependence. Not fragile dependence, not desperate dependence, but mature trust. I look at who I am now, compared to who I was when I first prayed those desperate prayers. There is more steadiness in me, more patience, more discernment. Even my expectations have shifted. That growth is part of deliverance too. You did not only remove me from something, you reshaped me through it. Thank you for the seasons that did not look victorious, but were quietly transformative. Thank you for guarding my name when I could not. Thank you for guiding my path when I was unsure. Thank you for sustaining my mind when it could have unraveled. Deliverance is not only rescue from external danger, it is protection from internal collapse. And when I consider how easily my thoughts could have spiraled, how easily my heart could have hardened, how easily my faith could have thinned, I see how deeply you were holding me. I did not always recognize it. I did not always praise you for it. Sometimes I complained instead. Sometimes I doubted. Sometimes I grew impatient. And still, you delivered me. There is something deeply moving about realizing that you were faithful even when I was confused, that you were steady even when I was uncertain, that you were guiding even when I was questioning. This kind of gratitude feels different. It is not loud celebration. It is quiet reverence. It is the realization that my survival was not accidental. My stability was not self-generated. My breakthrough was not self-engineered. You were present in it all. Father, as I thank you for what you have already done, I begin to sense that deliverance is not only something behind me, it is something still happening now, even today, even in ways I do not fully recognize yet. There are things you are shielding me from at this very moment that I may only understand months from now. There are conversations you are steering, impulses you are restraining, doors you are gently keeping closed. Deliverance is not only a past tense miracle, it is a present tense mercy. And I want to thank you for the deliverance that is unfolding quietly in this season. Right now, I may still be walking through certain tensions. I may still be navigating uncertainty. There may still be unanswered questions. But that does not mean you are inactive. Sometimes you deliver not by removing the circumstance immediately, but by strengthening the interior of the person walking through it. Your word says that God is our refuge and strength, a very present help in trouble. Present, not distant, not waiting for the crisis to end before stepping in, present within it. So if I am still in the middle of something, thank you for being present in it. If I am still learning lessons, thank you for teaching patiently. If I am still healing from something, thank you for mending gently. Deliverance is not always dramatic exit. Sometimes it is gradual restoration. I think about how I once feared that certain pressures would undo me. I imagined worst-case outcomes. I pictured collapse where there is now calm, and yet here I am, still standing, still believing, still moving forward. That is ongoing deliverance. You are not only rescuing me from visible threats, you are preserving my mind. You are preserving my faith. You are preserving my ability to love, to trust, to hope again. Lord, I may not always see what you are blocking. I may not see the temptation that did not fully take root. I may not see the bitterness that could have hardened me. I may not see the opportunity that would have drained me, but you see it, and you are active in it. Your word says that you will not allow me to be tempted beyond what I can bear, and that you provide a way of escape. I have often interpreted that verse as referring to large, obvious tests, but maybe it applies to smaller, daily crossroads too. The quiet decision to respond kindly instead of sharply. The choice to trust instead of spiral. The restraint to wait instead of rush. Those small escapes are deliverance as well. Thank you for strengthening me in the moment I wanted to react. Thank you for steadying me when my thoughts began to drift. Thank you for protecting my peace when something could have unsettled it deeply. I am beginning to see that you are delivering me not only from events, but from patterns, from habits of thinking that once dominated, from cycles of worry that once felt inevitable, from self-doubt that once lingered longer than it should have. That is ongoing work. That is quiet mercy. And I want to acknowledge it while I am still in the middle of the journey, not only after it has passed. There are prayers I am still praying, areas I am still waiting for clarity, situations that are still unresolved. But even in those, you are delivering me from despair. I am not as anxious as I used to be. I am not as reactive as I once was. I am not as fragile in uncertainty as I feared I would remain. Something inside me is steadier now. That steadiness did not come from denial. It came from being carried. Your word says that the Lord upholds all who fall and lifts up all who are bowed down. That lifting does not always look like instant reversal. Sometimes it looks like sustaining strength. Sometimes it looks like renewed perspective. Sometimes it looks like the ability to endure without losing hope. That is happening now. Even if I cannot articulate every way you are working, I can feel the evidence of it. I am still here, still breathing, still believing, still grateful, and that alone is testimony. Father, thank you for the deliverance that is not finished yet. Thank you for the ways you are quietly dismantling what could harm me. Thank you for the ways you are strengthening what will sustain me. Thank you for guarding my future even while I focus on today. Deliverance is not a single event. It is a continual act of care. You are always watching, always guiding, always redirecting. And as I recognize that you are delivering me even now, not only from crisis but from collapse, not only from danger but from discouragement, my gratitude grows deeper. It moves from relief to reverence. It moves from celebration to surrender, because I see that my life has been held more consistently than I realized, and that awareness leads me into something even more intimate, not just thanking you for what you have done and what you are doing, but entrusting to you what still lies ahead. Father, as I look back and see your hand in my past, something inside me becomes braver about my future. Gratitude does that. It steadies fear, it softens uncertainty. It reminds me that what once felt impossible became survivable because you were there. If you have delivered me before, why would you stop now? There was a time when I could not see how a certain chapter would close, a time when the weight felt constant and the answers felt distant. And yet that chapter did close, that storm did pass. That fear did lose its grip. I did not orchestrate it perfectly. I did not engineer my own rescue. You carried me. So as I stand here this morning, not in crisis, not in panic, but in remembrance, I entrust to you what I cannot yet see. There are still unknowns ahead of me. There are still conversations that have not happened. There are still decisions that will shape my path. There are still seasons I have not stepped into. But the same God who delivered me then is walking with me now. Your word says that Jesus Christ is the same yesterday, today, and forever. That steadiness comforts me. You are not unpredictable. You are not inconsistent. You are not attentive in one season and absent in another. If you delivered me from fear before, you can deliver me from fear again. If you preserved my peace before, you can preserve it again. If you redirected my path before, you can redirect it again. I do not know what lies ahead, but I know who walks ahead of me. The psalmist wrote that goodness and mercy shall follow me all the days of my life. That image lingers in my heart, mercy following me, not trailing reluctantly, but faithfully accompanying. Even when I cannot see what is around the corner, mercy is already there. So I release my future into your hands, not with reluctance, not with anxiety, but with trust built from memory. Memory of how you sustained me when I thought I would collapse. Memory of how you opened doors I did not know how to approach. Memory of how you closed doors that would have led me into harm. Memory of how you steadied my thoughts when they felt chaotic. Lord, I entrust to you the chapters I have not yet read. If there are blessings coming, prepare me to receive them humbly. If there are challenges coming, strengthen me to walk through them steadily. If there are delays coming, teach me patience. If there are surprises coming, anchor me in peace. I do not want to approach the future with suspicion. I do not want to anticipate disaster before it arrives. I want to approach it with grounded confidence, not confidence in my own foresight, but in your faithfulness. Deliverance has taught me something. It has taught me that I am not as alone as I once feared. It has taught me that outcomes do not rest entirely on my ability to control them. It has taught me that even when I misunderstand what you are doing, you are still working. So I choose to live forward with open hands, open to your direction, open to your correction, open to your timing. And if new fears arise later, remind me of this morning. Remind me that I have evidence of your care. Remind me that my life has already been preserved in ways I did not anticipate. I do not have to enter tomorrow bracing. I can enter tomorrow believing that you are attentive, believing that you are wise, believing that you are kind. Father, thank you for deliverance that shaped my past and strengthens my future. Thank you for mercy that followed me. Thank you for protection I did not even recognize at the time. Thank you for stability where I once feared collapse. Thank you for peace that now rests where anxiety once lived. As this prayer closes, I do not rush away from gratitude. I let it settle deeply. I let it become part of my posture, not just my words. You have been faithful. You are faithful. You will be faithful. And that is enough for me to rest. In Jesus' name I pray. Amen.